We are officially live. I see us broadcasting on YouTube. So, GM, if you happen to be in Japan, or good evening if you happen to be located here anywhere between the West Coast and the East Coast of the United States. Very excited to have a llama party with the unparalleled Scupy Trooples. Scupy, how are you?
I'm good. Good evening, Californians.
You're in
Thanks for
Japan,
having me.
right?
Yes, I'm coming to you from Japan.
And you live here in Japan, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah.
very nice, very nice. How long have you been living there?
Um, for a while, let's just say that. Many, many years.
So I visited Japan like 5 years ago, and it was entirely for work. I didn't get a chance to like do anything fun, just like work the entire time. The one fun thing I did was I went to a restaurant I was mentioning in the DMs. I don't remember the name offhand, but I think that they fed me some like raw, like bad beef, and I came back and puked my guts out for a week. But I still want to go back to Japan. That's how good this trip was, even though I didn't even do anything fun.
Oh man, that sucks that culinary experience because usually Japan, like the food is amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it
Mm.
might have been the 7-Eleven sushi, but that's pretty high quality, at least relative
Yeah.
to 7-Elevens in the United States.
Oh yeah, I mean 7-Eleven in Japan is pretty awesome just in general.
So I'm assuming then you got to enjoy like a lot of the ETH Tokyo events.
Well, this will be my first time going to an event in Japan. Is the upcoming Eat Tokyo.
Okay,
We're having an event there, and it's going to be at a at a maid cafe.
what's a maid
Uh,
cafe?
so it's sort of like a themed restaurant. Imagine like a Hooters or something like that, but like actually when you hear maid cafe, you think it sounds like whatever sketch, but it's a lot more legit than a Hooters. Let me tell you that. So essentially, it's like the waitresses just cosplay as like kind of Victorian era like maids, and like the whole thing is that like you're the like they're serving their master, you know.
Okay, it sounds
And
like
so
a
they're
lot of
very
fun.
formal, and they kind of like dote on you and things like that. It's cute and wholesome more than anything else, but it's gonna be fun.
So it's sort of like if Hooters is to dollar store as like a maid cafe is to Daiso, right?
Yeah, yeah, I would say so. That's a pretty good Daiso being a Japanese dollar store, which are yes, actually very nice.
Yeah, it's actually like fun to go to it. You don't feel like you're like a trash store.
Yes,
Well,
yes,
you're already
exactly. Yeah,
making me
they're
want
nice. They're
miss
good.
ETH. You're already making me get FOMO for ETH Tokyo here.
Yeah, we're actually trying to get like a Japanese like happy as our merchandise. So like the kind of like the robe that you would wear to like a festival, like but because Japan's like COVID like destroyed the circuit, like the festival circuit in Japan, the screen printers didn't order any hoppy anymore, and since the screen printers didn't order any, all the hoppy manufacturers are out of business. So there's like a national hoppy shortage in Japan. Yeah, so we can't get hoppies for Tokyo, which is what we wanted to do, but too bad.
Well, hopefully the maid cafe will make up for it.
Yes, it's
Is
for the memes. We hope it's going to be legendary.
now does
Yes.
like does this mean that you are like attending but being anonymous so as not to dox yourself, or are you like doxed in real life? Like, what's your like anon to like doxed
Well,
status?
yeah, I went to eat Denver, and I introduced myself to people face to face as Scupy. So like I still retain a little bit of anonymity to myself, but like enough people know my face that I'm sure some autistic person has already doxed me. So yeah,
That's great. That's
but
great.
I feel
Do you know what some of the other companies are doing for ETH Tokyo?
um I
Are
know
they
like
all?
Frax is gonna be there, like the Flywheel guys are gonna be there. I know that like Oilers gonna like I've been like talking to some people who are also hosting some events over there. So there's gonna be a decent DeFi presence there.
Nice, nice,
I know
nice.
like the main theme is gonna be the hackathon. And I'm going to be a hackathon judge. I will probably be a little bit more non there, and wearing masks is still very much normal in Japan, so I'll have a good excuse to wear one, and then some sunglasses and my Alchemix bucket hat. So I'll be able to stay pretty inconspicuous.
Nice, nice. Yeah, it's so few places is like still universal masking. I was in Hong Kong in January, like just after they had actually opened their borders from the lockdowns. And of course, everyone in Hong Kong at the time was fleeing. They were all like getting out. And I was the one person going into the country. So it's like I had the entire like city to myself.
Oh, nice. I guess that's pretty cool in its own way.
Yeah.
Like
So,
a 28 days later, cool kind of way. No.
a little bit. I mean, there was still like, of course, all the shops were open. It just wasn't as crowded as you would expect Hong Kong
I
ordinarily is.
definitely noticed that in Japan, like especially like during COVID, the shrine like towns like Kyoto and but there's also a bunch of other smaller ones throughout Japan. Before they would like always be packed with like Chinese and Korean tourists like all the time.
Hmm.
But during COVID, it was just like, wow, I can actually walk the streets without, being packed, like and walking through like throngs of people, like and it was really nice, and I'm glad I got to travel Japan during the pandemic because there's so much like so fewer like tourists. It was
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah, I can see that. Is that around when you moved to Japan, or have you always been in Japan?
You're really trying to get my dates, huh? No, just
Yeah, yeah. I'm
kidding.
forgetting. You said your docs, like it doesn't matter, right?
I've been in Japan since before the pandemic hit,
Okay.
and that's why I was actually stuck in Japan for a very long time because their borders were closed for most of Corona.
Oh, wow. So they trapped you.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, it was more like I could leave, but could I come back? I don't know.
I see. I see. I see. I mean, I think you made the right choice. Japan, everything about it seems like a great place. And with ETH Tokyo coming up, you were saying a little bit earlier that you're building some cool new stuff for Alchemix that might be ready in time for ETH Tokyo.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The one that is going to be launching imminently is called Self-Repaying ENS.
Self-repaying ENS.
Yeah, yeah, Self-Repaying ENS. So I could probably actually even demo this.
Yeah, I'd love to take a look.
Okay, so let me pull it up. Let me get a fresh tab.
Cancel my screen share here. Is this a curve cap world debut? Have you demoed this anywhere
This
else?
this is a world exclusive. This is
All right.
for the four people, including ourselves, in this chat.
I mean, that's where you get the
Yes,
alpha. You got to go deep.
exactly. So let me turn on my share screen here, and this. All right, can you see that?
Yeah, I am checking this out.
All right. So I guess I can just read it off the screen here, so it might be able to help the people watching. So this works by yeah, you deposit some ETH with Alchemix, and then you don't have to worry about losing your ENS again with this app. So basically, you put your ETH to work in an Alchemic strategy, which gives you like kind of perpetual funding in your account, and then the self-repaying ENS it hooks into a special like feature in Alchemix called delegated credit. So you can give another address the ability to mint from your CDP. So you give this to the Gelato Keeper, which then you can subscribe to different ENS addresses, yours and someone else's. So I could go to CurveCap here. Curve.
It's I don't have that one .eth. I have mktcap.eth.
Which one?
mktcap.
MKT. Uh, Market
.eth.
cap.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So this one is going to expire in 2032. So what I could do is I could click this auto renew here and then update my subscription. So now the keeper will be listening for when this is about to expire, and before it does, it will borrow some Al ETH from Alchemix, convert that to ETH, and then use that to extend your ENS for a year.
That's brilliant. And it'll automatically do that every year thereafter.
Yep, as long as you have enough capacity in your CDP to pay for it, yes, it'll do it.
That's brilliant. I mean, I have registered so many .eths that I'm sure some have already expired by now.
Yeah,
This
so
is
it's
so
pretty simple. Yeah, you can remove your subscriptions just by doing this, and you can do them all at once. I could update my subscriptions to unsubscribe from all of them just by clicking that button. It's
but why
pretty
would I
easy.
want to?
Well, yeah, exactly. But
Okay, so does this mean that you take all the yield, or do I get the yield minus the cost of renewal? I
yeah,
suppose it's not even
so
yield
if you
because it's
do this,
self-repaying.
you would basically deposit into Alchemix like you normally would. It would just be an Alchemix CDP.
Hmm.
If you don't borrow anything from it, anytime there's like a yield harvest in the system, you'll be getting credits for yourself.
Hmm.
So that way, like no, we don't steal yield from you
Hmm.
in that way. Whether you have debt or you don't have debt, it's you're still getting those credits from the yield.
Nice. So it just if I register 1,000 different .eth, so it'd slowly pay that back slower, basically.
Well, let's say if you had a bunch of .eths that you wanted to subscribe to, you would probably need a bigger deposit in Alchemix to ensure that you have enough ETH and enough flow of repayment for your from your collateral like assets,
Hmm.
um, like to handle it. Like especially like there's some gotchas like if you have a 3 letter or 4 letter ENS, those are a lot more expensive to renew than longer ones. So like it's there's no like one size fits all approach to how you can use this app. It's more of like a holistic. You got to understand what you're trying to do. But yeah, like for me, like I have a 1 ETH deposit in here, just to test it out, and that should be plenty for all these because it's not going to cost that much ETH to renew these longer names.
That's amazing. That's such a good idea. No one's thought of this, have they?
I don't think so, but I think this is actually like a test case for subscription-based services in general, and this is one model that we see it working out in for
Yeah,
DeFi. Yeah.
that's brilliant. That's brilliant. So how does this work on the back end? I'm curious. Is it a Chainlink Oracle checking the like expiration time? What's initiating that? Do you like have a daily transaction to go and like automate the sending of all of the vaults?
No, no. So there's a gelato keeper. This gelato keeper is topped up with some funds, and throughout the way that works is it self funds itself over time
Hmm.
as well by kind of taking the amount of gas it needs from people so it can fund its future operations. But then this keeper is basically like I mean, think of it as like an on-chain bot that's listening for certain events. And when an ENS is about to expire, this is an event it's listening for. It will then have its conditions triggered saying, "Oh, I can come up, wake up and execute this transaction now." And
Nice,
since it
nice.
has the gas in order to do so, it'll be able to wake up and then borrow the YAL ETH from your account and then do it. So you don't have to worry about pinging the system every single day and any expensive things like that. We just have this keeper listening in the background.
Nice. So I'd heard of it before, but it's just a cron job on chain.
Exactly. Yeah. Gelato is one of the companies that makes the Keeper bots, and I think also like Andre had his own project called Keeper DAO. So
Right, right. That's so cool. I can't believe I haven't come across this yet. Now, just
yeah.
hypothetically, how does Gelato handle it if like it's trying to do this renewal right as the newest NFT hits and gas spikes to like 50,000? Does everyone lose all their money?
Um, I don't know. I don't know if we have any gas conditionals built into it right now. I'll have to double check with it. This is a project that was made from somebody who won a Alchemix hackathon.
Hmm.
And like, that was a number of months ago, and we just considered it delivered after we did a number of security reviews with him. You know, well over a month worth of security reviews back and forth. I'm sure it was very painful for him, but we're glad we did it. Um, but anyway, like I'm not sure. I have to double check with the dev of it. If he put any conditionals to save people from, gas spikes. But yeah, I think that's a good use case. Edge
Absolutely.
case, rather, edge case. Yeah, thanks for mentioning it. I'll have to double check with him to see if there's any protections based on that one. Because for smaller accounts, that could eat into this a lot. Yeah. Good looks, my friend.
Well, it's everyone in the space is used to a little bit of adversarial thinking, right?
So I'm sure this was talked about, but better to double check than not.
Yeah, I'm sure it was too. I'm sure it was too. And it's not going to
Otherwise,
stop me. Like even if they
yeah.
haven't thought about it, like this is such a cool product that I'm going to, as soon as we get off this, and as soon as this is launched, I should say. Although I can kind of read the Vercel app, so maybe even as soon as we get
Yeah,
off this, I
don't
might.
know.
But I might go and like register all my domains just because I was thinking the other day like I should do that. So, do you have other subscription services in mind beyond just renewal of like your like .eth domain names?
I mean, if things are on chain, then it makes it a lot easier. Once you have to start doing off-chain things, it gets really tricky. I would love it if you could have like a self-repaying Netflix account, but like, how would you get the blockchain to talk to Netflix, right? So that's the hard part. ENS works out really well because it's all on chain. So for other services that have on-chain payment rails or methods acceptable, then I think that could work. Like
Well,
APY.vision, I believe, allows you to pay crypto for their subscription to their service. So that could be one. You could have your account, funded through Alchemix in a self-repaying subscription
well, we were actually just
there.
talking. We were just talking about this. So recently, myself and a few people, Puffer, one of whom is here, helped launch this LNN headline news service, and we were looking at how we could like do some subscription billing, right? And we were saying that like it's kind of easy to do. We could have like a Substack, people could pay there, but we wanted to be like Web3 first, and we wanted to give people the opportunity to purchase things on chain. Because we think that the market that we're going after is like, we're doing DeFi news, breaking alerts that you might not get from like some of the other alert bots that just track like TradFi stuff. So we were saying, like, how could we do like a subscription service on chain? And we kind of said, let's not even worry about it. Let's just do like, higher prices. You buy on chain and we'll like reconcile it manually. But I think we could actually just use Gelato.
Yeah, I mean, you could use self-repaying ENS technology as well.
Oh yeah, yeah. We could do sub. Does it do subdomains?
Um, I think we could probably, like take this contract and hook it up into other things. All the logic for the borrowing and like the operations is done. You just have to hook it into a different, contract for payments, really.
Hmm. That'd be really cool. So I could see this being really big. You know, this is one of the reasons I was like so excited that you were coming on the show here, because like just from the moment that I heard about Alchemix and all the stuff that you were doing with self-repaying loans, it was one of those aha moments for me for DeFi, because like everyone is used to loans, but then when you just think that through like crypto you can have them be self-repaying, it never occurred to me that that was possible, and it just like made a lot of sense. And when of course like I learned you're behind it, I've been following your work for and like the entire like is it 2 years now since that's launched?
Yeah, it's a little bit over 2 years. It was since we launched Alchemics. So, and I would say my presence on Twitter kind of started blowing up around like, DeFi summer. That was
Yeah,
one of those early people. And then that,
seems like so long
then we
ago
launched
now.
Alchemics shortly thereafter. So that was, yeah,
But could
pretty
you talk
awesome.
a bit about like the like how did you come up with the idea? Was it just being super plugged into DeFi Summer and wishing it existed, or like where did the idea come from in the first place?
Yeah, yeah. So the original idea, sort of sparked, I think, like when idle finance came out, and we started seeing like things like 10% yield, like on DAI and USDC, and like, whoa, this is pretty wild. Like, there's actually a lot of yield for the stable coins. And then Yearn came out, and it was like, what, like 20, 40, 60% on your stable coins. They're like, whoa, this is really crazy. What can we build with this? We have to build something. So, um, we're thinking like using yield as a building block. And we had a few like original prototypes um, that we think that they could have had like some marginal success, but we kept as we were kind of simulating it and trying to work it out, we found like little problems here and there. So we kept on going back to the drawing board again and again until finally we landed on the model that became Alchemics. And then after like a good, 4 months of us all kind of debbing as volunteers, we managed to pull together enough in order to launch it.
And it immediately took off, as I remember. Like, obviously, the numbers
Yeah.
from DeFi Summer are way different than they are now. But like, you talk a bit about like the journey of like the launch, like how that went. If
Yeah, it was pretty wild. We had a very unexpected thing happen to us when we launched the token. We added the initial liquidity and sushi swap. And like I swear, the block that we added it, there was a massive bid that spiked the price from the initial launch price of like $15 a token to like 400, and it's like, wait, what? And so that kind of kicked off this weird like kind of wave of mania and hysteria around alchemics, and it sort of like was almost history repeating itself with like the compound farming, the Wi-Fi farming, and stuff like that. We were kind of like that hot token that was really good to farm for a while.
yeah, the
And so that
first
was pretty crazy. And then because we had what liquidity mining rewards for ALUSD, and then we had the token which just went up like 30x the price that we originally launched it at. Like, so that supercharged everything, and so all of a sudden there was all this huge incentive to borrow and use alchemics. And you know, uh, a few weeks later, we were at several $100 million TVL, and it's like, what's going on here?
and did you take
So
that
it
moment to
was
dump
pretty
on everyone?
wild. It was wild. Definitely, it like it was an order of magnitude larger than I was expecting. Um,
And
and
had you
I
ever
wasn't
seen a
prepared
hundred?
for it.
Had you ever seen $100 million before that?
No, no. I mean, even then, $100 million TVL and DeFi was considered like a quite a big deal.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
I mean, even today, I would say 100 million TVL is a kind of big deal. Not a lot of protocols have that to their name.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. I mean, I haven't like trawled through DeFi Llama. Let me pull that up real quick just because I'm curious. But yeah, everything's distressed right now. So how did that transition process from like the good times to the distressed times that we're living in now? Like how did that affect the like day-to-day operations of the platform? Like if someone had put in like $1,000, let's say, when everything was good, as like the past year, like if they put in the day before, let's say Do Kwon and Terra's like whole thing collapsed, um, would their loan have been repaid by now?
so what we've noticed is that the longer that like Alchemist has been out, the yields have sort of compressed more and more in DeFi. Like when we first were out, it was pretty normal to be 10 to 15% yields, which is base on urine. And now it's we're having actually a really, really good stretch for dye, and dye is like over 5%, but usually dye is like 2% or less for its yield nowadays. So that's the biggest effect on yield repayments is just the variable rates that are out there in DeFi.
Hmm.
We're trying to bring in some new strategies. For example, we're bringing in Frax as a collateral for Alchemix.
Nice.
That's launching very, very soon.
Ooh,
Testing it
nice.
out in the UI right now. But one of the strategies is Vespers Frax, and that's getting like 8 or 9% right now. So that's one thing that we're trying to do is increase, get better yield sources for our users. So that's one of them. But yeah, that yield rate repayment, that's the great limiting factor. And when yields are low, it kind of makes Alchemic suffer in general because one of our pegging mechanisms is our transmitter, which basically takes the yield repayments that happen from or the debt repayments that happen from yield, and they put them in a kind of like a time weighted, like slow kind of like AMM where you can swap 1 to 1 for like ALUSD for one of the collateral assets like DAI, USDC, Tether, or Frax.
Hmm.
And so that's way for like arbitragers to say, hey, ALUSD I can buy it for maybe 98 or 99 cents on the dollar, and then take it into this transmitter and get exactly $1 for it. So that's like one of our pegging mechanisms. And when yields are slow, this doesn't get fed as much as it probably should.
Right, right.
Um, yeah. So that's it. Kind of limits our scaling to a degree.
And
Um,
did you get like a
in
bunch
a
of
very
angry users at that point saying like, when's it going to be refilled? When am I going to get my money back? You're rugging me,
no,
or were people pretty good?
no, I think people understand what they're signing up for. Like Alchemix is a set and forget, low maintenance, low risk, liquidation free lending platform that the yield rate of the token that you deposit slowly pays back your loan over time. I think people understand that's what it is. The repayments happen frequent enough that people see the debt in the system trickle down like day by day. So I think people understand what the system is, and that they're not locked into their loan. Like if they want to like repay manually, they can do that and take out the rest of their collateral. So I think people are pretty chill and pretty down with the system. Doesn't mean that we don't recognize some of its faults. It works better in a bull market than a bear market, and we're going to address that in our next version of Alchemix. And this thing will fly in a bull market, and it'll be able to restrain itself and contain the system and be more resilient in a bear market. So
Oh, nice, nice. Is that something you can talk about? Like what the
it's a little
mechanisms are?
bit too early to get into
Oh,
the weeds about the mechanisms and stuff, but overall, like the design goals are to have it be minimized from a operational standpoint, so it's a lot less maintenance for us, so it's easier to centralize, but also more powerful for the mechanisms that we have to contract the supply when necessary.
got it, got it.
So that's
That's
yeah.
cool. That's cool. And for those keeping score, there's only 72 DeFi protocols tracked by DeFi Llama that have over 100 million, and only 15 with a
Um,
billion.
Ours says, I think it's like DeFi Llama says we have like 50 or 60, but like that's actually not true. It's not counting our AMOs right now, which
Ooh,
have like over $60 million in them. So,
ooh, ooh. That's a rare miss for the DeFi Llama team.
oh yeah, it's probably my fault for not updating them, but yeah.
Wow. I mean, they've been
Between
through a lot.
everything, I
Everyone,
think Alchemix is around 110 million TVL at the current moment. So
nice.
we're doing okay. Definitely down from our all-time highs, but we're doing good.
Well, I mean, the important thing is you didn't explode, you didn't die. You're gonna be
We
around to witness the next bull market.
and we're actually running, like we're our income is more than our expenditures at this point. So our
Nice. So
runway
you'll
is
just
expanding.
so
We're
you'll just
doing
keep
well.
keep growing, keep building, keep shipping stuff, and finding opportunities.
Yeah, our AMOs are, are definitely helping out. For one, a lot of the AMO income is just used as like a flywheel effect where we're just relocking our curve, our convex tokens. We also have like a Velo AMO over like on Optimism and relocking our Velo. So like, we're basically just expanding our base for what we can support, just ambiently as a protocol, and then using some of the ammo income for operations and stuff like that as well. So everything's working out pretty well there.
Nice. Now,
I'm
what
taking a page from Frax's book.
conquer the world?
Well, I don't know if we're going to conquer the world at Alchemics, but hopefully will be an important, niche application in DeFi.
So, what do you make of? You're talking a bit about stablecoin yields and it's like pointing out that like basically for all the major stablecoins, it's like you're lucky if you get 1% nowadays. What do you make of that? Is like we see that you could take your stablecoin, put it in a U.S. bank account, and get maybe 4 or 5%. Like, is DeFi like yields like gone and not coming back? Is this just kind of like kind of this kind of weird period? What do you make of it?
I think a lot of times, like now, like the stablecoin yields have kind of moved away from straight up just like lending markets, like Aave Compound. Those have compressed and they've moved more towards like the like liquidity provisioning side, whether those are like Uni V3 pairs, curve pairs, or balancer. I think you're seeing most of the yield for stable assets be in LP form now.
Hmm.
Um, so I think the next generation of lenders is, or at least for Alchemics, is how can we make adapters that can handle such tokens as collateral in Alchemics. And it's tricky because the math behind the LP tokens makes accounting a lot trickier to handle and handle well. There's other concerns like impermanent loss and slippage from like the tokens in the pair, and a lot of like little kind of gotchas that make the seemingly easy integration actually really hard and potentially unsafe. So it's something that we've been really taking our time on and exploring. And it might even require some very bespoke math and adapters and technology for us to actually even do it. So it's something that we've been actively researching for well over a year, but I think safety first is something that like is something we really pride ourselves on in Alchemics. And it's one of the reasons I think we've survived throughout this whole like last 2 years is that we've been conservative to a fault where we've like dodged bullets. At one point, we're like, maybe let's consider UST, and then like 2 weeks later, it collapsed.
Oh my
Like,
gosh.
let's consider the clear pool, and then boom, like there's like like the market makers go down, like okay, like so I don't know, like we're also like considering US treasuries as one of the ways you can hook into yield, and Alchemics using like potentially like Ondo and their Flux product.
Hmm.
um and but at the same time, it's sort of like maybe let's take a wait and see approach to see like if because there's regulatory risk essentially with things like that. I think like less custodial risk because treasuries are about as solid as you can get. You don't have bank risk with those, but like at the same time, like there's some unknown unknowns with real world assets in DeFi. So I'm happy to let other people experiment and we can watch, and if it works, then we can integrate. But yeah.
Yeah, so I'm kind of
Uh,
curious about like how did you go through like that risk process when you were looking at like Terra? Like I know Curve, for example, has the Curve now Llama risks team that goes through and runs these analyses and issues reports to the DAO. Like what do you look at when you're looking at these protocols and trying to decide? Like you decided Vesper was going to be a good one to use for Frax. Like how did Vesper make the cut, and how did UST not make the cut?
Well, I think there's a huge distinction though between like something like Vesper and like UST. Vesper is a strategy that's built on top of assets that we've already accepted into the system. whereas UST would have been a completely new asset that we accept into the system. UST, I always thought from the beginning that like, hey, there's this potential for a death spiral to happen, but I'm willing to keep an open mind and see if it can survive. And my test for it is if it can survive a bear market, then UST would be considered legit in my eyes. Um, and its mechanisms were resilient enough to withstand a bear market, so therefore, it's proven itself. But um, I think I might have taken a little like cheated from my original views because wow, there's this 20% yield consistently being offered by Anchor, and that's better than anything Alchemix is getting, in DeFi right now. And also this is like I think Jump just bailed out like the wormhole bridge, and then Jump was also like, yeah, we're part of the Luna Foundational Guard. So it's like, wow, these people with unlimited capital are also backing UST. So even if the pegging mechanism doesn't work, I'm sure these guys can bail them out. It was kind of like my thinking. And so then like, the terror people who kept on reaching out to us like constantly over the past like couple of years are like, okay, let's talk. And then we started talking. Right as soon as we started talking, it's just like boom, like Tara's dead.
Wow.
Like yeah, so glad. And another thing was like we were about to work on establishing a lending market in Rare Refuse, and we just started getting the pool set up, and then boom, like Rare Refuse dies, and it's like, well, good thing we didn't do that. So like, and we also almost made a pool with Beanstalk, and then like a week later, like after it passed governance for us to do it, Beanstalk got hacked. It's like, okay, that's another.
Who is your guardian angel? Like you were just like,
Like, I don't know.
this is
Like,
incredible.
I feel like
Do you ever
us
feel
just having a slow process and dragging our feet on the operations side is like, a blessing and a curse.
so? Do
Like
you ever
hurting
feel
people.
survivor's guilt? Like everyone else has died, you're the only one left. It's gonna have to hit you at some point, or just complete guilt about being the only one that survived.
I think with every single time we survive, we get a little bit shell shocked and we get a little bit more cautious going forward. And we slow down and we start thinking, hey, are these initiatives something that introduce risk to our system, and kind of just updates the way we think about things. And we sort of have a policy of like if we're doing a collaboration with somebody, if they go down or get affected, will this hurt us? And if the answer is no, then we are quick to go ahead with a collaboration and the business development like DAO.
How
So
how big is the team at this point?
so on the core like dev side, we have, let's see, let me count one, two, 7 people like on core development. So that's including like me and the other founders and a couple of the other Solidity devs. And then we have another like group of people who I would say have become like core on the team. And they're doing more like business development and DAO work and stuff like that. And there's like a good like 5 people on that side. So yeah, we're what I would say 7 full-time. No, probably like 8 full-time and 4 part-time people on the team now. So
Are you all distributed across the globe? Do you all meet up at the same maid bar in
all
Tokyo?
over,
Okay.
all over the world we're distributed. Europe, Oceania, Asia, you know, the Americas. So yeah, we're all over the place. It's hard to do meetings. We'll just say that much.
Yeah, yeah. Curve doesn't have meetings, which is one of the things that I find really interesting about it. Charlie, Ben, and Michael, the three like people who founded Curve, they all live in
Mhm.
Switzerland. They've never met each other in person.
What?
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, I hadn't met any of my team in person until I went to Eat Tokyo. And when I went there, not Eat Tokyo, but Eat Denver. And at Eat Denver, I met a couple of the other devs there, and yeah, it was a great experience actually.
I had so
Getting to
much
see
fun at ETH Denver. I can't believe I didn't get a chance to meet you.
uh,
I didn't
Yeah,
even
we
make
had a
it to the
good time.
main. I didn't make it to the main event, so that's on me. I was so busy with
Uh,
side events.
yeah, we had a pretty good event with Premia. Definitely like the Premia guys. Cozy is definitely one cool dude.
I've heard a lot of cool things. I mean, I'm not able to keep up with everything in this space. It's gotten to be way too much, but Premia's busted through, and
We like Premia. They're good people to work with. They're fun. Cozy is a legend. Like we might want to cut this from the YouTube version or something. I'm not
oh,
sure, but
well, yeah. Maybe we should
uh,
yeah, maybe in like 10 minutes we'll go private and just
okay, okay.
do
I'll
off the
tell the
record
Cozy
things.
story when we go private.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not sure, like, yeah, how much he wants this talked about him, but but
Well,
anyway, he's cool.
why don't we just talk about
What
Premium
was
more
I saying?
generally? Is like I'm not too far down like the rabbit hole. Like, how does Premia differ from Dopex?
See, I don't really know enough about Dopex per se.
Hmm.
I've used Premia because Alchemex has a few products that work with Premia, so I'm a little biased there. They
Makes
have
sense.
Al-ETH options markets that they pair against each other, so that's pretty cool. They also have an ALCX options market there too.
Oh, nice, nice.
Oh, there's one thing we haven't talked about today that I do want to talk about in more detail. That's the new Alchemix tokenomics, the VLCX system that's going to be coming out.
Oh, please.
Yeah, this quarter hopefully. Yeah, so it's under audit right now. So Alchemix is going to be adopting a V tokenomics system, but it's going to have a lot of modifications. So while it will be familiar, it will also be pretty different from the other ones. So off the bat, it's we're kind of borrowing from Balancer's idea and having an 80/20 LP token as the base
Hmm.
for VALCX, and that's going to help us phase out our kind of like our single side staking, like our pool, so we can have our pool two liquidity, and sort of like our base staking token all kind of wrapped into one. And the burden for liquidity providing for our community is a lot lower because it's only 20% ETH on the other side.
Hmm.
So that makes it so there's a lot less impermanent loss as well if you're an LP.
Nice, nice.
So there's that as the base. We have a gauge on balancer already. So the VLCX that gets locked up is also going to be earning the balancer and the aura rewards as well. So it has some base rewards that it'll be getting from that. On top of that, VLCX will be getting ALCX like rebase rewards. But there's a little bit of a caveat there. If they want to just claim ALCX straight up, they'll take a 50% penalty in doing so if they want to get an instant claim. But if they compound it, they'll be able to keep all of it. But the thing is, since it's an 80/20 balancer pool token, right? If they compounded it, that would be essentially like selling 20% of the ALCX you just got. So the
Hmm.
caveat there is that if they supply the ETH required to be able to deposit that, then they can compound without any penalty
Hmm.
into their position. So there's that. So that way we can, grow the liquidity without people dumping in the pool too.
Nice, nice. I keep hearing that,
Okay.
like the 80/20 pool, or in some cases like the 98/2. They have 98/2 at Balancer and 99/1. Like I hear that's
That's
like
pretty
just
crazy.
yeah, I hear that's just very popular. So it makes me wish a little bit that at Curve we'd had the foresight to do more easily do pools like that.
Mm. Yeah, well, we love Curve at Alchemix as well, but not every single Lego brick can be built with Curve.
Oh yeah, no, 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 no. It's
Yeah,
just like no, I'm not. I'm not.
yes,
I'm just wishing that we'd foreseen how popular that could have been.
yes. So yeah, there's that. We're doing that, and also from protocol revenue, as well as a portion of the AML revenue that will be distributed to VLCX lockers in the form of ALUSD and ALETH credits.
Hmm.
So basically, if you already have like debt in our systems, that debt will just be repaid automatically as like a debt repayment. If you don't have any debt, then there'll just be a credit waiting for you to mint a ValUSD and ALETH. So
Nice,
there'll be
nice.
a yeah. So those are the perks for the stakers. They'll be able to direct gauges, and we have some pass-through gauges that will hook into things like staked out vote market, Vodium, hidden hand, and things like that. So that way we can continue on doing our bribe program like we've been doing, but we can do it in a way that's community directed and decentralized.
Nice, nice. Like, what were as you were doing this and kind of going through this process of kind of revamping the tokenomics, like, what lessons would you say you learned from like the first version of ALCX that you were trying to really, like, the biggest pain points from it that you were most trying to correct with this new version?
Well, I think that when we first launched, we thought the DAO would be out a lot sooner than it was, and so we just had some stopgap things, at first for the tokenomics, and basically what we did was we made a single side staking pool, and that way that like in addition to having like a pool two, like that this is an alternative for people to put their tokens in and give them a reason to hold while we're getting the DAO out. I mean, and it worked pretty well. We ended up turning that into like a liquid wrapper, GALCX that rebases and compounds automatically. So we did add some quality of life to that, but overall, we still realized that for decentralization's sake, we need to graduate from being just a pure governance token with a snapshot into being a full-fledged tokenomic on-chain DAO.
Got it,
That was
got
a
it.
big part of it. And some of the design choices were, influenced by my own experience as a V curve locker myself. Um, and there's still some more features I've yet to go over.
Oh yeah?
So so one of the reasons like I well, one thing I didn't like about being a V curve locker is that basically I lock for 4 years, and then if I want to get my curve tokens back, I have to wait the entire duration of that 4-year lock. And by the halfway point, I'll have half of my governance power. By the three-quarter point, I'll have a quarter of my governance power. By the very
Right.
end, I'll have a tiny percentage of my governance power. And that's something where it just felt like it gets more and more and more painful the longer you've been locked or you're waiting to unlock. And I feel like that was a little bit like, like I felt like almost like a prisoner. So I was like thinking, and I understood the reasons why it happened like that, but I was like wondering how can we balance this to make it so people can free themselves in a way that's not going to be injurious to the system in general. So a few of the changes we made were one was like a year max lock instead of 4 years.
Hmm.
4 years, I think, in DeFi is an eternity, and it might as well just be a permanent lock. Um, so for a lot of people, at least, so we felt like a 1 year lock was something more, appropriate for DeFi. Um, we have also the ability for you to switch on a max lock. So if you max lock, you can flip a switch. That way, you'll stay max locked and not have it decay.
Hmm.
So that way, you're not going to have to come back every few weeks and relock it to be at maximum boost. And then the other innovation that we've made for our VLCX is the introduction of like a sub token or resource that we're calling Flux. And so Flux is a resource that accrues to VLCX stakers just kind of naturally for staking. And while it's just a resource in the contract, you can burn it to boost your gauge voting power for that epoch.
Hmm.
So if a bribe market does form around alchemics, um, if there's a juicy bribe, you can burn some of these tokens to increase your voting power and get a bigger share of that bribe.
Huh. That sounds really
That's
cool.
one thing that you could do with it. The other use case for it is that if you mint it to an ERC20 token, it loses this power to boost the gauges, but it gains a different power instead, and that is to do an early unlock of your VELCX position. So there'll be a formula, and there'll be like an amount that says, oh, you have this much VLCX. Okay, therefore you need to pay, 1 million Flux tokens in order to unlock your account right now. And so this will create sort of like a liquid unlock market for alchemics. And imagine there's a big token pump. Alchemics goes up like 100% over the course of a week. There's probably going to be some opportunistic people who want to sell, thinking, oh, there's a pump, and it's a good time to sell. And if they're locked into VLCX, well, now they have a way to get out if they want to. And if they do so, then they have to pay the other, VLCX holders essentially through an exit tax through Flux.
Right. Nice, nice. That's really
And
clever.
it'll end up being prohibitive, so that like if you're staking for a year, it won't be enough for you to unlock your account. It'll be something is scarce, relatively speaking.
Right. That's so cool. That's so cool. So kind of removing some of the kind of more sinister features of the ECRV.
Trying to make it, a little bit more pro consumer.
Right, which is basically your whole branded alchemic. Self-repaying loans is as like user friendly as it gets.
Right? So we hope that, with these changes, that there's still like the strong, assurances and game theory that come with the V tokenomic model, but with some quality of life features that make it a little bit, nicer. And also, like, this whole primitive of having this liquid unlock token creates this sort of like extra little value and derivative for the token holders themselves, or the lockers. It's like a little sub game that they can play themselves, which I think is pretty cool.
Nice, nice. Um, so many questions I want to ask. So the basic products with Alchemix are AL ETH and AL USD. I don't have the raw
Mhm.
numbers on that handy. How popular are each of those? Like, is there a particular use case that people are commonly doing for like AL ETH versus AL USD? Like, talk
I
through
think
like.
the loop that we see is generally the same. Is that people go to borrow an AL asset, and they either double down on yield farming and become an LP, or they sell it and for like something else. So that could be to cash out and have some cash on hand. I think we see that with ALUSD a little bit more frequently. And the other one is to, like Al ETH, you could, if you sell that for stables, that's essentially a way to short, because, if the price of ETH goes down, you could rebuy the Al ETH and pay it off for cheaper. Um, so there's that. And also I think people, they double down on their yield, or they long some other token. So
Mhm.
essentially shorting. Yeah, Al USD go long something, or to cash out something, and then Al ETH if you're going to try to short ETH, or go short something against ETH.
I might have just been dreaming, but at some point, I think there was talk of adding other types of AL assets, or did I just imagine that?
So we are considering expanding, our assets, but we want to wait until we get our next version out, because we feel like it's more powerful, and that it'll help us scale any next asset a lot more easily than if we roll with our current setup.
That makes sense.
But basically anything that has a liquid staking derivative is going to be a fair target for us in the future, because they have, reliable, long-term, sustainable sources of yield.
Yeah, and you launched AL ETH before like there was much yield available for just Ether, right?
It was back in the day when the urine vaults were getting 4 or 5%, and that was considered bad.
Right.
So,
I mean, has
yes.
like how'd the switch over to like kind of like the explosion of LSDs affect AL ETH?
Um, we've been a little bit slow to adopt them, because, before Shanghai happens, like we're basically constrained to liquidity that's only in the curve markets. And there's a little bit of risk in hooking up adapters through the markets, as opposed to having it like natively work through like on staking.
Hmm.
Um, Post Shanghai, we're not going to worry about that. Where caps are going to come off, quite a bit. So um,
It's
Yeah, we're
soon.
just,
It's
you know,
April,
to
two
the
two weeks,
chagrin of
right?
our community, we are conservative to a fault. So,
You're still here too, so I think that says something.
yes,
I just
yes.
wanted to give a quick ability. There's been a few people floating in and out of the room, and yeah, if you are here, this is a party. Don't feel like you need to stand against the wall and be shy. Come say something. All right, never mind. People are just gonna stay, clutch their drinks and hang out against the wall. That's fine. Did you have a hard cutoff at 5? Like
We can keep on going. I'm waking up now finally, so
coffee is
I
finally
should,
hitting.
kinda.
I remember, yeah, no, nothing about my trip to Japan. Good coffee was all I was gonna say. They have some really good coffee places there. Um,
Yeah.
I'm curious to hear a bit about e-girl Capital, which is one of the other things that you're involved with.
Yeah.
I
So
saw that they just made a big investment, so that answers the question of how they're doing. Obviously, still around and doing pretty good. Like, what's your day-to-day involvement with that organization?
so eGirl's like a syndicate of our collective of what I think we're up to like 15, 16, something like that, a decent amount of people. It's mostly led by, I would say, CL and FJ. They're sort of more like well-known traders in the space. And they're kind of like more active in the day to day, but then like a lot of times, like, members, were, like there's traders, there's developers, there's artists, there's different people, and we'll get deals that come our way. We'll just, kind of drop them in eGirl. People will take a look at them. We'll say, oh yeah, this looks interesting, and then kind of go from there. And then, a few of us might be put on as like a correspondent, or, uh, for a certain deal, and then, we'll be the ones who talk with the other project and try to assist. And usually that's interest based. I think as long as like 5 people want to go on a deal, then we have enough to go forward and put the e-girl name on it. But overall, we're relatively selective. I'd say for every 10 deals we get, we might accept one or two. Um, and I think it's not because like we don't want to invest in everything. It's more just like you have to be really choosy because you get so many deals that come your way. If you took everything, you would be one broke, but also pretty incompetent as an investor, because you want to be able to give the care or attention to, the project that it deserves. So
Right.
I think and I think that's one thing that, we've struggled with, is that like we might have taken on a little bit too much too soon, and now we're like, okay, we got to maintain and care for our project, so we've slowed down the pace since then. But overall, it's nice. It's a fun, chill chat room that we're all in. That we, share trading ideas, investment ideas, and just, and you know shoot the shit and talk crypto and
Nice.
invest in some stuff together.
Nice. So is it structured more like a kind of classic VC company, or is it like entirely like Web3, like multi-sig, and you're paying only in like Ether, or is it, like if like
There's like an entity that's attached, that like when we that can do like official business, but that's something that like most people in eGirl don't really concern themselves with or touch at all. And most people are just sending in USDC or, Ether to a contract, and then, the operators, basically take care of the rest in a multi-sig.
right? Are there many other like Web3 like native VCs other than eGirl, or is
Yeah,
eGirl pretty much?
yeah. I mean, that's like eGirl's one of the ones I'm involved in. There's also one I'm loosely involved in. It's called DeFi Chad's Ventures.
Like, so you got the Chads
Um,
and the eGirls.
yeah, yeah. So DeFi Chad's. This is. I mean, it started from like a chat room I made at the beginning of DeFi Summer, with like a Toast and like Validator.eth and Fubazzlers. Like kind of the four of us were just kind of friends who liked just like hanging out, on Twitter, and then we kind of turned that into a chat room, and now there's like, a bunch of people in that chat room, and then of course, people are like, let's go off and make a VC thing. And I feel like that's the death of a group chat is when it says, hey, let's turn into a VC group. It's like, no, no, the group chat was so good.
Did Alchemix apply to either of them?
So DeFi chats wasn't really a thing, like a venture capital arm, but like when we were trying to get some money to seed our sushi pool, to get started. This is back when we were nobodies and just volunteers. Like a number of our friends pitched in to help build our initial liquidity, and yeah, a number of those friends eventually went on to be in DeFi Chad's Capital, so they are listed as one of our investors. It's kind of
Nice,
a tongue-in-cheek way.
nice. Guys, I'm just kind of like curious, like if you actually like build the terms for the investors like directly into a smart contract. I don't know that I've ever seen that be done, where like the investors actually have a slice of revenue that just goes directly to them, so they can have like extra confidence that
What
their
we ended up
investment.
doing is a portion of the ETH they sent in that was used to make the liquidity pool tokens was just stably or streamed to them over the course of 6 months.
Hmm.
So people who contributed initial liquidity, it was kind of time locked for that 6 months.
I mean, you could use the Alchemix ENS product as a way of just ensuring that VCs
Yeah.
get paid.
I mean, what we launched back in 2011 or 2021, sorry, was
2011
very
be
much
amazing.
like, V1 was essentially the prototype, and V2 was like kind of what V1 should have been, right?
Hmm.
And now V3, or prototypes for it at least, that's what V2 should have been in the first place. So I feel like that's a common thing that happens with teams that launch in the space is that V1 is really V0.
Yeah. As you kind of, you personally, or in behalf of your role in two VC groups, like as you evaluate projects, like what are you looking for?
I'm looking for specifically a team that's in tune with crypto culture.
Hmm.
I think that if they have that, if they really get the crypto culture on CT and 4chan and Discord, and things like that, um, and know how to appeal to that crowd, I think that they're going to have at least initial success and traction, because those are the early adopters. Those are the people that you want to spread the word of your app early on. I think that's important to look for, especially like at this stage of DeFi. Another thing is that are they LARPs or do they really know their stuff? And so trying to press on them for technical details for how things work. And that way you can filter out the vaporware that's out there. Because there's a lot of people who, hide behind buzzwords and jargons and stuff like that, but they have no real product at the end of the day. So you got to filter out people like that. And you got to find the people who are in touch with the actual spirit of like, crypto and DeFi. And I think if you can do that, then, you know, you evaluate the idea that they have and see how feasible it is, if it can have product market fit. And if all those things really check out, then a lot of times it's something that people want to invest in. Um, and, like, if we're going to skip the heuristic of, oh, so and so is on the cap table, so we have to get in too, yeah, that's how I would evaluate projects.
Yeah,
Yeah,
makes sense.
sometimes it's like, oh, 16Z's on there and they're offering us a spot, do you guys want in? It's like, okay, sure.
FOMO's real,
Yeah,
just like NFT mints. Same psychology.
yeah, exactly.
Are there particular like sectors or anything that you're like really like bullish on and like would prioritize investments in it, all other things being equal? Sectors within, of course, like crypto.
So I definitely think one of the bigger narratives that the next cycle is going to have, and it's a continuation, is just starting kind of now, is like the scaling layers, and those being like the next big thing. So Arbitrum optimism with the ZK rollups, things like Celestia, things like Eigenlayer, like all these things that are being designed to scale, modular approach to blockchains. Um, so I think those are going to be the hot narrative tokens for the next, couple of years. And I also think that as this technology is taking off and it's getting better and scaling happens in a real material way, that gaming is going to actually have some killer applications, and not just be a bunch of Filipinos farming NFTs on 50 smartphones next to each other. Um, I'm excited to see Eve Online announce that they're going to have a blockchain game coming out. I think that's one of those really cool this makes perfect sense, because what is Eve at the end of the day? It's a bunch of spreadsheets and it's an economy, so it lends itself well to blockchains and tokenomics and self ownership of an economy and stuff like that. And I honestly think that yield farming, clicking through asteroid mining in space, is a lot more interesting than clicking through some jank front end in DeFi. So I
Yeah.
think that's a big opportunity. I know a lot of people would probably spend a lot of time on a game like that if it respects the tradition and culture of blockchain. If it's actually an open game. Imagine it's Eve and it's an EVM built on Eve, and you can have a physical location for a bank in there, so your DeFi app can just be a bank at a space station. I think that would be really cool. There could be an Ave, in Eve. And one of the borrowing assets is space diamonds, right? I think that would be just so neat.
That's
Um,
I could see that being how
if
you
they
get
make
the
it an
next
open
billion people into
system
DeFi.
that's composable, I would, I'd just be sorry, Ethereum, I'm building on Eve blockchain now.
I mean, I
So
definitely could
I think
see
that
it.
would be cool.
I definitely could see it. But so I know absolutely nothing about gaming. Like I don't really play that much in the way of games. But I'm just skeptical of games and crypto, mostly because my sister is completely anti-crypto and she's a huge gamer. Um,
Mm.
and I don't think it's just her. I think there's this weird subset of the traditional gaming community that just for whatever reason they hate NFTs. They used to hate it because of the environmental impacts, and then of course the merge happened, and then they just hated NFTs just because. And I feel like it's too big of a group to get them over into crypto gaming.
I think it's just one of those things where they're mimicking the thought leaders in their given field.
The thought leaders of
And
gaming.
no, it is very much like that. It's
Huh.
sort of like I don't want to get all political and stuff like that, but imagine you go to a work event or something like that, some onboarding thing, and then they start asking for pronouns. Right there, that there is less a check on inclusivity. It's more of check to see if you're comfortable following the kind of rules of the woke workplace or something like that, right? So it's
Mm,
sort of oh, is this person uncomfortable saying this? Okay, then they might be, a right winger or something like that.
mm,
And I feel like this is sort of an identifier now. It's sort of oh, I hate crypto and NFTs, and you sort of have to say that if you want to be included amongst certain gamer crowds, and if you don't, then you're the weird crypto guy, crypto bro that they're going to
interesting.
ostracize.
Okay, I get that
And
dynamic, but I'm not sure I call it thought leader, thoughtlessness leader maybe, because it's more virtue signaling or in-group signaling.
that's how it always starts. It starts with some influential person taking a stand or making some article or video that influences a lot of people, and then just becomes some headless movement.
Yeah.
Yes.
But come to think of it, a lot of crypto people play games too. So if you just make a killer crypto game and all the people who do like crypto also happen to be playing it, I guess
There's a
that's
lot of shitcoin traders who like crypto or who like gaming, who are also
yeah. So that's
there's
probably
a
a big
lot of
enough that's a big enough market, isn't it? Just get them and let the traditional people cry.
I honestly think though, for the Eve community that's out there, all they will have to do to placate the current Eve community is give them an airdrop. Say, hey, you got some real Eve bucks now in the real in the blockchain version. All right, you can dump them and run, or you can just play the game. It's up to
Yeah,
you.
makes sense. I mean, it makes perfect sense to me why gaming should embrace crypto. But then it's like one of those things, like you said, not to get political, but it's like you should see where like Elizabeth Warren should support crypto, and she's raising an army to fight us. So it's like sometimes like logic just doesn't quite seem to apply sometimes.
I can't believe that image is real. I cannot believe that image is real.
You know what? You know what's funny though is like
Well,
we've
Band-Aid posted this morning. I'm like, this has to be satire. It's like, nope, it's not. Oh wow.
You know what's great about it though is like we've probably endured like some of the toughest like 2 week stretch in a long time. Like I feel like in recent memory, like there was the Do Kwon, like the U.S. Terra collapse was huge. 3 Hours Capital you could maybe put up there. The FTX thing. But then this past week, I feel like, or 2 weeks, or however long it's been, where it's just been every single day, like some kind of soul crushing news. And usually it was regulatory. Then you'd have news like the Euler finance hack, which was like really devastating. Um,
Wow.
but then I feel like something kind of flipped where like the news kind of kept hitting and they tried to keep bringing these hits, but they just became funny. Like yesterday, the SEC announced an action against like Blixby or something no one's ever heard of. And it's like, come on, you're
Yeah,
just making stuff up at this point. And then it was like no one heard Elizabeth Warren announcement and like panicked and ran to hide, like ran to their bunker because they were afraid of her army. Everyone was just laughing and producing memes. So it was almost like almost nice to see.
exactly. Exactly. I mean, I feel like we're at the fight them stage. Like first they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you.
We need better
But like
enemies
I'm
though.
realizing that as they're fighting, especially Elizabeth Warren, she's like an amateur. She's really sucks at this.
She's
Like she's
really
really
bad.
bad,
Like shockingly bad.
right? Like
Like we deserve a little
she's just
better
being
enemies.
exposed as like incompetent, like and like just grandstanding, to be tough on the banks. Like that's her strategy to win, her reelection. And it's probably gonna work.
Oh yeah,
But
she's
as far as
guaranteed.
like
She's
the
guaranteed.
effectiveness of like a crackdown on crypto, it's almost having the opposite effect and proving the resiliency of crypto and just how necessary it actually is. So thank you, Elizabeth Warren, for making
Yeah.
us look good.
Yeah, you like give the community a chance to come together and have a nice laugh.
Yes.
It's just so ridiculous. Yeah, I think she's guaranteed to win re-election just because the parties control so much of, especially their internal primaries. So you'd have to have like
Mhm.
a huge heavyweight in the Democratic Party like challenge her, um, or
And
the
you would need
incumbents.
some moderate Republican, like a Mitt Romney type character to beat her because Massachusetts is, relatively liberal.
Yeah, but I still think it's a huge opportunity for literally anybody in like actually like even just a grifter living in Massachusetts. Like there must be some crypto project where one of the founders is in Massachusetts. All they need to do is say that they're running against Elizabeth Warren, and so many people are just going to send them money.
Yeah. Screw
So
Elizabeth Warren. Oh man.
like is this free alpha? Like
I
if
used
you're
to
if
like
you're
her so much too. She used to be one of my favorite politicians.
I know it's like we like me too. Like I was like it was not too long ago. I was like, huh, I would vote for her in the election. She seems pretty good.
Like I was following her from the like great financial crisis. She was like on the Daily Show a bunch, like, and talking about it. And she seemed like really well spoken and like, seemed like she cared about fighting for consumers' rights. And this was in the wake of, all the banks collapsing. So like, she had the right message at the right time. And, she seemed like she was the right person for the job and genuine. And then little by little, being a politician, it just kind of, the corruption eats at you. I
So
think that's what happened to her.
I think it's because she got her Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, and like she'd been working on that for a long time, and that basically only has influence over the banking sector. So that's her keys to power right there. Um, but
Yeah, but I don't think that she's like really, doing the right things, advocating for smaller people. I think that like, advocating for protections for small and regional banks, having post offices open up as banks, things like that can like, give people better options and access to banking, I think is what that should be going on. And fintech, including blockchain, if that helps people, she should be supporting that, as a champion of the people, instead of stoking fear in the banking sector, which only pushes deposits to the big banks. Like,
Or literally causing bank runs. I mean, isn't that a
yeah,
crime?
like, I mean, to the point where, like, FDIC is having to make special $600 billion exemptions to bail out the banking system. Like, it's really injurious. Like, I mean, I know, like, these weaknesses in the banking sector were always there, but when you stoke the flames of fear, like, these they're going to get exposed like really quickly. And like, and I think, like, that could be true even, like, when market conditions are healthy. Like, if you incite a bank run, it's going to happen. A bank's going to go down just because it's in that nature of fractional reserve banking. So it's wholly irresponsible of her, in her behavior, and then for her to grandstand and act like she's some champion of the people and tough on the banks. I think it's just a big farce.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. Anyway, you're Japan now, so you don't care, right? Like you can't even comment on our
I mean,
elections. You're meddling.
I I'm working on correcting this, but I'm still a burger.
Oh, okay. So
So
you're burger
yeah,
in the
so
sheets, Japanese in the streets.
I still have my vote, and
Okay, okay.
I can't vote in the Massachusetts elections, but you know, sure as hell, if she ran for president, would not vote for her.
Well, no one did when she did, as it turns out.
Yes,
But
yes. So
like, what is the situation in Japan? Because I mean, I basically just see the news saying like America bad, Japan worse. Is
oh, as far
basically.
as crypto goes, like Japan,
Oh
like
no, as
they're
far as the banking sector, I meant crypto. It seems like they
oh
don't care as much.
I mean, crypto in Japan kind of sucks. Not gonna
Oh,
lie.
does it? Mm.
I mean, like they treat all crypto income as just regular, like, miscellaneous income. So, like, there's no, like, capital gains, savings for long term holding and stuff like that.
Mm.
So, and Japan's normal tax rates are pretty high. So, it's not a great situation to be a crypto investor in Japan.
Got it. But you're still American anyway, so you'd have to be doing
Yeah.
U.S. taxes, and you also have to pay
Yeah.
Japanese taxes for living there.
Yes. So yeah,
Ouch.
it's
Oof.
not a great situation. So,
Oof. Well, I hope the
but
maid
Scupy's
cafes
a,
are.
is a compliant, good little boy. So,
I hope the maid cafes are worth the extra tax.
it better be. All right. So,
Oh man, this is
no,
a
Japan's a good place to live, though. That's for sure. Good public transportation, good health care, good everything. Great place to live. So,
yeah. No, I see
I
it.
love
I
it.
see the benefits. I consider periodically the places I would move to, but I'm not sure Japan would have me
Well, Japan, I would say it's a good place if they would have you.
if they would.
To,
Yeah, Japan.
I mean, they'll have you for at least 3 months at a time. So,
Yeah, it might be worth considering. Might be worth considering. Yeah, you in Tokyo or like the countryside?
I'm in the countryside,
Oh,
but I will
nice.
be in Tokyo for Eat Tokyo. So,
There we go.
especially, if you're a friend with me on Twitter, and I'm following you, just DM me about an invite. There's not a ton of spots, so it can't just, like, blast the invite out to the public. But, if you do follow me, or I follow you rather, you have access to my DMs. Yeah, shoot me a DM.
Nihongo wa hanasimasu ka?
Oh, hi, hanasemasu.
Ah, very good, very good. It's about. I
Yes,
took I took one semester. That's about all I know. What else? Like,
not bad.
yeah. What
Not
else is
bad.
on your mind? Like, what else? Like, are you like looking at around DeFi, crypto, anything in the world? Like, what's taking up your like mind space lately?
Um, I'm looking at trying to find projects that are not rugs on all the various ZK rollups, so I can get some activity on those chains.
There's
So
like,
I didn't farm the Arbitrum one to its maximum potential, so I don't want to miss out on other ones. So I want to get at least a few accounts active across the various ZK rollups, so that way I can you know get some governance responsibility in the future.
Do you think all the ZK ZK era versus like consensuses ZK there's a third one that launched do you have like takes on those like which are likely to be successful?
I don't know really, which I think it's going to sort of end up being sort of like Arbitrum and Optimism is that if they can get killer dApps on their system, then they'll be okay. Like, Optimism got synthetics and Uniswap v3 early on, and then Arbitrum got GMX, and Treasure, and those ended up being their killer dApps. And without those killer dApps, I don't think that either of those optimistic rollups would be as widely adopted as they are today.
Do you think that ZK is eaten to the optimistic rollups?
Um, I mean, I think that there's always going to be an element of that. You saw that with, the alternative L1s that were popping up, like, Avalanche, Phantom, Solana, Polygon. And it felt like there was sort of like a carousel where the market cap would kind of slosh around between them all. Same with like Binance Chain and Polkadot and Cardano and things like that. So I think that like the market sort of finds sort of things and correlates them together and then plays, kind of merry-go-round or musical chairs with the liquidity. And you see that with DeFi projects like, if Curve moves up 10%, Alchemix usually moves up somewhere around the same amount. And likewise, when it goes down, a lot of things are tied to Curve, and
Yeah.
things are like highly reflexive. And I think that like, yeah, things are kind of like, it's going to be like that. There's going to be a sector of L2, governance tokens, and they're all going to sort of perform similar to each other, based on their TVL activity and things like that. So you'll see, maybe Arbitrum with, double the activity of Optimism with like double the market cap and, then similar multiples thereof.
What do you think about like the prospects for like DeFi at large? I mean, stable coins are like we're seeing outflow and just liquidity in general is not going into DeFi. It's getting vacuumed out. Are we the like last ones in the room? Should we
No,
just
I think that DeFi is working. It's just that like the market is just highly reflexive on lots of stuff. And now that the liquidity is tightened and we're all exposed, it's the ones that can survive this that will. And when the next market comes around and liquidity is back, then we'll be able to grow accordingly.
So what do you see as
I
the
think
narrative for DeFi? Like if you have to explain
I
to
think
someone's
it's
parents.
refinement. It's hardening. It's refinement. I think like people kind of got numb to hacks, and I think that's not a good thing. I think I want to go 6 months in DeFi without a hack, right? Like I think once we can do that, people feel secure, like that DeFi is the superior thing. Not only do I not have fractional reserve banking risk, but these contracts are hardened, and I know I'm not going to lose funds doing these things. I think that's a big part of it. I think refining applications and improving what's there DeFi and more DeFi is what's going to happen and what's necessary. I don't think it's broken. I think it's fine. And I think that when bull markets happen, there'll be a rush of activity and there'll be a breath of fresh air that happens to it. Yields will pick up, lending markets will pick up, and everything like that. But like I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with DeFi. We just gotta make our user experience better. We gotta harden our protocols and become more secure, and just keep on shipping and building and making our products better.
Do your parents use Alchemix?
Was that?
Do your parents use Alchemix?
My parents don't even know what I do, and I like to keep it that way.
What do you tell them?
Um, I work in fintech, a fintech startup. So like I prefer to keep my life as private as possible and mostly to protect people close to me, but also like because I don't like it. Like I don't want to, people to be like, oh, this is Scupy. Oh, he's got money. Oh, he's successful, and then them treat me differently because of it. I kind
Makes
of
sense.
like being able to blend in and kind of be a normal person.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Um,
Yeah.
Actually, that's one final question that I had. So your Discord picture, of course, is a pudgy penguin, which I think is probably a rare that they made for you. What's this
Nope.
current Twitter profile picture rocking?
Oh, so my pudgy penguin is a normal pudgy penguin. It
Oh,
wasn't
it's a
a
normal
special
one.
one. I just saw a wizard hat pudgy penguin. I was like, oh, I should get that. And so I did, and it's been one of my PFPs for a while. And I had another PFP that a friend made that was of like one of my witch avatars. And so I took that picture and I took my pudgy penguin and I threw it into Midjourney, the AI image
Looked a
making
little
software.
looked a little mid-journey.
Yeah, yeah. And there's a blend feature where you can take two pictures and just blend them together. So I took my pudgy penguin, I took my other profile pic, and I blended them together, and that's my current Twitter one.
Oh, very
I like
nice.
the result enough to put it on there. Yeah.
Oh, very nice.
I feel like when everyone's doing something else, doing something like, putting a PFP as their profile picture or whatever like that, like it's good to zig when everyone else is zagging.
Do you buy the AI is gonna destroy the world narrative?
I think there's gonna be like a bifurcation. Like I think there's gonna be a world of AI fueled, post scarcity, abundance. But then people are gonna realize that this is, all AI generated. It doesn't have, this realness factor to it that we crave. It feels very artificial. So then there's going to be a craving for human experiences, authentic human experiences. And then whether that's, services provided by a human or these are goods that are handmade, things like that, I think are going to be still in high demand.
Got it. What about the simulation hypothesis?
I mean, I think that like, it's like the same question as asking like, what color is Sunday? It's a pointless question that's unanswerable. There's no test to see if whether we're living in a simulation. Same thing. It's sort of like what happened before the Big Bang. Um, how what begat God, right? Things like that. Like so, it's like one of these unknowable, like kind of like questions, and I feel like it's just a waste of time thinking about it.
Good answer. Good answer. I've kept you for like an hour and a half already. I know that you got like a million things to do, so I'm not going to keep you much longer. But any like final questions, comments, thoughts, questions for me or people here?
No, I mean, like if you're new to alchemics, please come to our Discord. There's tons of friendly people there that can help you get started. Especially with the self-repaying ENS thing that's gonna be coming out soon. If you're new there, please come by. Yeah, we'll support you. Um, and if you want to learn more about alchemics, you can follow us on Twitter. You can follow me on Twitter as well. So I'm Scooby Trooples, and yeah, the alchemics one is Alchemics Phi on Twitter as well. So I think that's about it. Just yeah, keep tuned because we're going to be continuing to build.
That's awesome. I'm going to go ahead and cut the stream. So goodbye to anybody who is listening there. But for anyone who's still here, be super interested in hearing that story which you did not want to tell.
Sure thing.